Welcome back. Okay, so in our last explainer, we tackled general HTML attributes, right? Well, today we are taking a massive leap forward. We're moving way beyond just reading HTML elements to actually styling them dynamically using JavaScript. This is the exact moment where your web pages really start to come alive.
So, you're probably wondering, how do we actually style elements dynamically? We've successfully navigated general attributes, but today we are laser-focused on transitioning to the specific style attribute and the incredibly powerful .style property. Let's find out exactly how we can manipulate the visual presentation of our code on the fly. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We've got 5 sections today: selecting your HTML element, the setAttribute pitfall, the preferred style property, mastering the camelCase rule, and a summary with key takeaways. Let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, selecting your HTML element. Before we can change anything, we literally have to grab hold of it. Getting a direct handle on the element we want to manipulate in our script is step number 1. All right, let's walk through the steps. First, we need our target, say an H2 element on our page. Step 2, we identify its unique ID, which in this case is page title. Next up, we use the JavaScript method document.getElementById and pass in that exact ID string. Finally, we safely stash that element into a variable. Let's just call it title. Boom. Now we have a direct connection to that specific element right inside our code, completely ready for action. Moving right along to section 2, the setAttribute pitfall. Now that we've got our element, how do we change its style? Well, our first method uses setAttribute, but I gotta warn you about a major drawback here that catches a ton of developers totally off guard. At first glance, using setAttribute seems perfectly straightforward. Say you want to add a single rule. You just type title.setAttribute, target the style attribute, and throw in your CSS, like position relative. You run that code, the HTML updates perfectly in your inspector, and yep, it works exactly as you'd expect for that one isolated rule. But here is where the massive frustration sets in. What if you want to add a second rule, like pushing it to the left by 10 pixels? If you just fire off setAttribute again, it completely overwrites and deletes your first position relative rule. No way, right? It literally replaces the whole thing instead of adding to it. To fix it, you'd have to manually string everything together in one giant clunky line of code. Honestly, it gets tiresome and wildly inefficient real fast. So we clearly need a better way. Enter section 3, the preferred style property. This is the professional, highly efficient solution to our little formatting problem. This approach is just so much cleaner. The .style property is entirely non-destructive. That means you can update specific rules individually, like setting left to 20 pixels or top to 10 pixels without wrecking what's already there. Your existing styles stay perfectly intact while you tweak only what you need. You simply use the syntax element.style.property_name and assign your new value. It's elegant, precise, and for sure, it's how the pros do it. Which brings us to section 4, mastering the camelCase rule. Because even with the .style property, there is a huge syntax trap practically every developer hits when updating multi-word CSS properties. Imagine you want to change the background color. You confidently type out title.style.background-color equals blue, exactly like standard CSS. But you run it, and bam, a glaring red error pops up in your console. Why on earth does using a standard CSS hyphen suddenly break our perfectly good code? Well, here's the crucial point. In JavaScript, a hyphen isn't just a word separator. The JavaScript engine literally reads it as a mathematical minus sign. So your browser thinks you are actually trying to subtract the word color from the word background. Obviously, that makes zero mathematical sense, and your script just crashes. To get around this, JavaScript forces us to use something called camelCase. This acts as the mandatory bridge between CSS hyphenation and JavaScript logic. With camelCase, any hyphenated CSS property squishes into a single continuous word, and every word after the first one gets capitalized. And this brilliantly illustrates how that direct translation works. Over in standard CSS land, you've got the hyphen, like background color. But the valid JavaScript equivalent? It's background color, all one word, with a capital C. It's a super simple rule, but seriously, burn this into your brain. It will save you hours of debugging headaches. All right, let's wrap this up. Section 5, summary and key takeaways. We've covered a lot of ground today, so let's lock in a solid mental model you can take into your own projects.
Looking at these methods side by side, it's pretty clear. That clunky setAttribute method, it forces a total reset. It's really only good if you actively want to wipe out and overwrite all the existing inline styles at once. On the flip side, the .style property gives us those clean, precise updates. It's perfect for non-destructive edits, where you only change exactly what you intend to.
If you only take one core lesson away from this explainer, let it be this. The .style property is your absolute best friend for precise, non-destructive updates. Make it your go-to for dynamic styling, and whatever you do, always remember the camelCase rule for those multi-word properties. You now have the power to visually manipulate the web on the fly, changing colors, moving elements around, reacting to code. It's awesome. But styling? That is just scratching the surface. Now that you can dynamically style elements, what else do you think the document object model can do? Imagine creating brand new elements completely out of thin air, animating them, or reacting to user clicks in real time. The possibilities are honestly boundless. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and definitely go experiment with these styles in your own code editor. Keep exploring.